Thank you for being there. I'm sure some others will drop in. I'm going to briefly introduce you to our keynote speaker. People tell me sometimes at FIDI is slow. We are slow in our decisions that we make. And I do not take that as a criticism. I think that's a compliment, because at FIDI we should be slowing down from time to time. And I've learned a long time ago that in business we tend to decide very quickly, particularly in the Western side of the world. Decide as quickly as you can, because that shows strength. But I've learned a long time ago that sometimes you need to pace yourself, particularly when there's long-term projects. Yesterday evening, by accident, I was sitting next to Reiko on the bus back to the hotel. And when talking to each other, we discovered that we have a couple of things in common. Some Japanese expressions and some Japanese business principles. And I'm very happy that she's going to talk about that today. I'm going to introduce you to Reiko, who will try to be the bridge between the Japanese decision style, business style, and the Western business style. Reiko Saito, please.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Hi. Hello. So, how's Osaka? Are you having fun? Good days? Yes. So today, I would like to take you to a Japanese meeting room. Okay, let me start. So things you realize in the meeting rooms when you are with the Japanese group. Have you had some experience with the Japanese group? Well, here's case number one. Sometimes things are different. You're in a meeting making a final decision on a proposal. And actually, the client will say, "Thank you. We'll take this back to our office and decide if this final decision can be our final decision." So that wasn't the final decision, so they will have another meeting to have a final decision just to make sure. This happens a lot. So case number two. When you ask any comments or ideas, and people will look down. They wouldn't say a word. But do you think they don't have any ideas or comments? Actually, they do, because they tell us after the meeting. Okay, so why do we act this way, Japanese? So I would like you to come with me on a Japanese business culture tour. Before I start, I would like to introduce myself. I'm Reiko Saito. I'm an HR consultant and EQ specialist. I used to live in Zambia when I was young. I met some friends yesterday from Zimbabwe. I'm not sure if they're here. But Zambia, hi! Good, you're here. Yes, I was so happy to meet them. Yes, but Zambia, they told me that Zambia has changed a lot. But 40-something years ago, when I was in Zambia, everything was so different from Tokyo. Very different. Language was different. The food was different. People were different. And the way they think, the way they live, everything was so different. But I had a blast. It was so much fun. But then, after 2 years, I come back to Japan. I was surprised to think that Japan is really different, very unique. I have a very interesting career. So I studied English, and I really wanted to be an interpreter. So I was an interpreter. I started off as an interpreter in the music business. I chose music business because I really loved music. And my first Japanese tour was Whitney Houston, Madonna, and Janet Jackson. Impressive. However, it was a dream job until I became the HR consultant. I really like what I'm doing, knowing about people. It was 17 years ago when I got a translation management project. It was a whole database of self-analysis. So you gotta know a lot about people. And you know, you're in the music business and you don't have to have those psychological terms and emotions and values and whatsoever. But this was really serious translation. This was my first time. So I studied and studied. I did it word for word, but that wasn't enough. I needed a localization. I never knew about localization. Do you? Do you do localization when you're translating? Well, it's very crucial for Japanese because Japanese people think differently, sometimes think backwards. We sometimes need extra explanation for logic. Sometimes we don't have the words that you use. So I had to adjust so that the Japanese people who use this self-analysis HR program to understand and get the right message, to understand the objective. But by the time I did all the localization, knowing about people, I was the expert. I knew about self-analysis a lot. And it got interesting, so I did human skills and conceptual skills. But it was a learning about Japanese way of thinking because I can't just deliver the westernized program to Japanese people. So from there, I would like to take you back to the meeting rooms. So the first case I introduced was about the meeting with the final decision. Final decision, and it goes on and on and on to make sure to be cautious, don't make mistakes. The second case was when you ask comments, they look down and they don't say anything. I have another one, case 3. It's my story. I tried to become a global leader, strong woman in Japan, and speak up. I'm not afraid of taking responsibility. So I trained myself to become that. And one day I was at a marketing strategy meeting for younger women. I see 5 men and me. So what would you say? So I said, first, I think we need a woman, younger woman on the team. And everybody's like, what? Reiko, you're not supposed to say that now. But people are like not saying anything. I kept going. I think we need the diversity on the team. So one of the executives like, okay, shall we start? It's interesting. Was I not supposed to say that? But last week I was in the International Environment meeting. I said the same thing. I said, I think we need diversity. And then somebody goes, Reiko, that's a good idea. I think you're right. Yeah, I didn't say anything different from the Japanese meeting and the international meeting. What is the difference? I don't like doing this. I don't like the Japanese way because we look like we're making slow decisions. Or we are avoiding responsibilities. We're not taking initiatives. I like Japanese, and I am Japanese, so I don't want to think it that way. So let's look into why. What's happening in these meetings? So I'm going to take you 2,000 years back. 2,000 years ago, we started the rice farming. You know, we have the collective culture. We're nice to each other. We're polite. It was the harmony. It was a team building we really needed to build. Rice farming in Japan, where we have strict 4-season at that time. It's getting hotter and hotter these days. It's changing. But at that time, we need a strong team building, working together, getting along, trust each other, and also fight with nature and go through disasters. So this was a big, not a harmony, maybe it was more like a survival. So harmony sounds like we are so nice to each other, polite, we're observant. But we had to do this because we wanted to build the relationship with each other, and that was the team building harmony, wa. So there are unwritten rules that I might not even know all of them, but it's more about not offending people, not making people uncomfortable. The unwritten rules. I was talking to Jesse yesterday about the unwritten rules. We have several of them. Of course, have you been in the Japanese meeting rooms? There are seats that you're not supposed to be sitting. The elders, seniors are supposed to sit in the further end, not by the door. You don't want your clients to sit by the doors. There are unwritten rules like that. But in the business card, you exchange business card, but you know there is a way to exchange the business cards. But more to that, we have this way of, okay. We have the unwritten rules that is really not unwritten, like read the air. We say kuki o yomu. Kuki is the air. Read is yomu. Read, yomu. Kuki o yomu. So it's about understanding the tone by listening, sensing the air, not to offend people. Is that the right timing to say? Those are the things we naturally do. Do you know this word, nemawashi? Nemawashi, yes. We were talking about nemawashi. Nemawashi is from a gardener's word. Ne is a root. So when we replant a plant to another, you don't want to scare the root. It's a new environment. So you don't want any surprises, no shocking events when we are changing the environment. So we gradually give them the sense and the heads up what the environment, new environment's going to be. So that's what we do. Sometimes nemawashi is not used in a good way because some people use it in a very cheeky way. But this is one of the things we do. If you use it right, it's a gradual change with the team. Have you seen a scene like this? These are leaders of Japan apologizing for the team. The team's mistake is the leader's mistake. Sometimes they get fired. It wasn't them, but they get fired just to take the responsibility. So we have a system. This is a business system called Ringi. This is an old decision-making process. What we do is when we have a proposal, you put it on a piece of paper, of course with the evidence and information, and what that does is that proposal travels around up to the leader. So the next manager takes it, read it, approve it, stamp it. It's called hanko. We stamp it. And the paper travels up to the leader, and the leader finally does the final decision. So we're used to having responsibilities traveling, not with you, but to the top. So this is something probably is different from your style. Okay, so as an EQ specialist, I go through people's decision-making process. Who thinks that I'm a slow decision maker? No? Ooh. Who thinks I'm a fast decision maker? Oh, some people don't really, so it's case by case, yeah? So when I look into the two types, it seems like they prioritize different values. The slow decision makers value more of emotion, insights, detail, and structure. But the quick decision makers tend to prioritize more of a logic, vision, ideas, and instinct. You don't go through the people emotion so much. So these actually affects the prioritization and the collection of information and data that you want to go through. So this includes people's emotion, what people said, and that kind of stuff is in that too. So strength can be weakness. So slow decision, I don't judge by slow decision makers better than fast decision makers. They're both very important. So when you overuse your strength, or when you are an opposite value believer, you tend to think negative of the one opposite. So the quick decision makers, what they do is they kind of, it's a good, quick decisions are, decision makers tend to be like, oh, they're great. But actually, what we find is that they kind of skip the process. They jump the steps. They use less time on each steps. And then the slow decision makers take more time on each steps in detail. It makes sure not to make mistake, to prepare and plan ahead. So that's why it takes time. And also, checking on people takes time, a lot. You got to talk to people, you got to consult to people, and this process takes a lot of time. Logical people tend to skip that process, so that's quicker. So that's how I find those two types. The slow decision makers go through data or information carefully to avoid risks and spend more time to digest deeper and plan to understand the achievable level beforehand and listen to others to make sure everyone is on board. Do you think some apply to you? Yeah? So you, Jesse, said that the slow decision-making process is sometimes important for FIDI. Do you think these are some of the stuff?
Because of the nature of our organization, we require this.
You are naturally doing this. Yeah. So this is very close to what we think in Japan. The business system tend to ask us to do this. And it's not only the business. Actually, these elements are taught very much in school, education. Something like plan ahead. Is there a Japanese audience here? No? Oh, okay. We are told to plan ahead. I'm not a good planner, actually. And every time before summer, we're asked to plan the whole summer, 40 days, what you are going to do. Like, I don't know, but it's a better process to have everything planned. So to be punctual, follow the rules, and be consistent. These are good qualities to follow. So if you're not that in Japanese schools, you're no good. That's one. And then there's be patient, slow down, yukuri, and then think things through. Don't go and make fast decisions. And listen carefully. Listen to others. and think silently. Don't make noise. Shh. And think by yourself. These are really hard for me because I can't do this. But then there's the biggest one. Don't make mistakes. So we're not supposed to make mistakes. So the word practice is actually translated very differently. In Japan, practice is practice, and you can make mistakes. But there is a real practice, which is called honban, and you can't make mistakes. So there's the pre-practice period where you can make mistakes. And that's when you practice. But that's not the real one. The real one comes later, and that's when you can't make mistakes. So we are trained not to make mistakes after this pre-real practice. So make sure, be cautious, and prepare carefully was what we were asked to do. And then the elements are taught in the people-focused way. Keep the harmony. So be considerate to others. Think about others' feelings. Don't be a burden on others. We call it meiwaku. Meiwaku is about troubling people, putting burden on people's shoulders. Those are meiwaku. So you're not supposed to be meiwaku. So we have to be really strict, nice, and be nice to people, polite to people. Those were taught. So these are taught in school. I came back from Zambia. Zambia was nothing like this. It was fun. To me, this was really about rules, and it was unwritten rules that my parents taught me, all the adults taught me. And even with a person like me, I can be humble too, just because I was taught this way. I was in the room today, and William, thank you, told me to do an SNS video. I said, hi, I'm Reiko, I'm a keynote speaker. Please come if you have time. Da, 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 da. And then William said, Reiko, don't say if you have time. So even with a person like me, it's embedded to be humble, to be nice, and to care about others. It comes naturally. I never thought until William mentioned that I was being a little hesitant in saying those words. So I changed the wording and I said, please come. That was different and that was difficult. I mean, it didn't really come out naturally. That's something that's been taught. A little hesitant and humble. So by looking into these things that we've been taught, can you see Japanese culture in this? Like trains being punctual, people being nice. But I'm actually talking about slow decision makers. So it's not just the slow decision making, it's more of a culture itself. The culture is this, so we are nice and we are humble and we can be nice to people, but at the same time, that is implemented in the business world. I want to be nice and I don't want to hurt you, no pain. And so it's a same quality, but when you're in the business room, it tends to look like, oh, they're making slow decisions and taking no responsibility and taking no initiative. But learning these things, I feel great. Japan isn't that bad. So everything, So things you realize in the room come from our history, our business system, the personal value preference, or education. So do you see this culture? There's probably a lot of people who came here for the first time. Yeah? How was your image? Was this your image? Or were we much more crazier? Yeah? But actually, we're changing. Japanese are changing. I don't know if we still have that team building. It's the connection. And I'm not sure if we are following those learnings. Maybe it's the SNS, the AI coming, the education system is changing, but it's changing. From 15 years ago, I've been training the new graduation students in Japan. They are really excited to go in business every year, but we see the change. I always ask them, who is your hero going to the business world? Who's your ideal business idol or hero? They used to say, the baseball player, or sometimes they will say Superman, or something as a hero, ideal, idol. But you know what they say these days? My mom, my dad. It's changing. We're seeing a very small community in the new grads. I asked them twice, is there anybody who inspired you outside your family? And they say, not really. My ideal is my mother, because my mother does a lot. I wish my son and my daughter said that to me. And me, also, I never thought my mom, my mother, my father would be my ideal hero at that time when I was 20, 21. But it's really changing. They have a small world. I don't know if this is only in Japan, but are we passing on the correct learning to the next generation? Because I thought, I have to be a global leader, and I trained myself to become one. But now that I'm learning all these Japanese culture, am I missing out on something? Something important that Japan has built for a long time. I'm afraid when we lose the system, we may lose the important function behind it. This is a picture of a undokai. We have this sports day for Japanese schools. It's a big event for Japanese schools. So we have this race, and they run, and we rank them. Even though they're like 6-year-old, 7-year-old, 8-year-old, they run, and we rank them first, second, third, fourth. But some parents didn't like this. They said, it's not fair. Lots of pain. You don't want to do that. So one school that I know got rid of this race, and there is a race, but everybody wins. So whoever comes in first, second, third, fourth, it doesn't matter. Everybody is the first. How's that? Nice, nice. No pain, nice. But at the same time, we lost this. Smile on their face. Great effort. Winner! That kind of achievement. And the one who came in second, disappointed, trying to go for next year. And then there's like jealousy, jealous. People, some are jealous about, I'm not a runner, so I don't. And then there are students who give them the effort, encouragement. And then there's like a fight and apology and forgiveness. There was a small world, community that's actually practicing the real world just behind this ranking. And when we got rid of this, yes, everybody was a winner, but at the same time, we lost this small community, which was the practice ground. We're losing a lot of practice grounds. I do trainings around people's emotion, and everybody knows in their brain, but it's actually hard. You know how you know in your head how to ride a horse? And you go on the horse, and you know you have no clue what you're doing. You know the rules for soccer. You know how to kick. But then when you are in the soccer field, you have no clue what you're doing. So that's what it is. You gotta practice. But when you lose the system, sometimes we don't know, we don't realize that we're losing a practice ground. Or without practice, we lose the function itself. It's really hard to get it back. And now the AI era is here. It's saying that the world is changing. How's your industry? Is it changing? Changing? Generation gap? Yeah? Leaders who's not taking initiatives? Motivation? Is there anything that you can think of? Changes? No? Oh? Everything. Everything. Yes. We feel like the leadership is changing, don't you think? Now, the AI is changing everything around us. And what are we going to do? The practice ground, making decisions. Because the fast decision-making ground is out there, but the emotion and the community around making decisions are gone too. Making decisions evolved people's feelings and emotions as well. But we're losing all of that community and that practice. Studies say we may lose a whole lot of leadership after this AI starting to make decisions. We know this, but once we lose the system of making decisions, we might lose all of this and the leadership itself. We need a practice ground. So now, looking into Japanese slow decision-making and the consulting doesn't sound so bad. We might want to keep some of these, right? Yes, we need a practice ground. So when we lose these things, it's hard to get it back. I do a lot of trainings for EQ skills and people's emotion, and we have role play, and we do case studies. But actually, I don't know if any of those actually work. Let me share one story that one of the client of mine is starting to do. This company was struggling with generation gap, leadership initiatives, and staff engagements. One of the employee, he's 60. He's like a lone wolf. How do you call that? So he would be alone in the room. He used to be a rock star. A lot of people liked him. But nowadays, the younger generation doesn't want to talk to him because he's really mean. He smokes cigarettes, but whenever he goes to the ashtray area, people try to leave and leave him alone. And it was interesting because when I talked to him, he's a big guy and he's an expert, he has his experience and everything, but he looked very less confident in himself because he said he lost the communication and connection with the younger generation and the team. So he will tell me how he used to be and how the office used to be, and it sounded really fun. And I asked him, why did you quit all of those? No, it's not that kind of era anymore. We don't go out eating and drinking. People don't want to spend time afterwards, after the business. So I see this conference. I was so happy to see everybody hugging and talking and having fun. We're gradually missing all of this. So what the CEO, after listening to this senior, after we decided to make a practice ground for communication, what we used to have naturally, we have to bring it back somehow. So what the CEO did was put a table tennis in the middle of the room, in the middle of the business room. And she said, from today, I want you all to play table tennis 1 hour during the business hour. That's crazy, because they have deadlines and they have to prioritize their work. But she thought this was really necessary, so they started the ping pong tournament. And this was really good because table tennis in Japan, people can play table tennis. Most of them can. So it's a common sport, and she started. First, the younger ones hated doing it. No, I'm not playing table tennis with the seniors. I don't like it. Okay? But they were forced to sit down and watch. So the older senior that I was talking about, he said, okay, let's do it. And he started playing table tennis. And gradually, some of the younger ones started to play. And then there were laughters. They didn't even want to talk to each other. But then they started laughing. Then they started competing with each other. And we see a little change in the leadership, motivation. They started talking about business during the table tennis. And they started to bond. It's been 3 months, and it feels like it's going well. So what this practice is going to, this practice ground is going to look like in the future, if I think about it, I'm a little scared. When we lose everything, do we have to make it mandatory to replace all of this practices that we used to do naturally? So those are the things I always look into, how we can make more practice grounds in our society. So I ask, any ideas from anyone? So that was the Japanese Business Culture Tour. This is who we are, a Japanese business people. But like we said, we have been changing. We are becoming a little global and making more of a quick decision and taking initiatives. But I would really like you to enjoy what's behind the Japanese slow decisions and these team building that we have, and look from our culture lens in your business and see if some of those can help what you are changing in this AI era. It's a little early, but Thank you very much for listening. Thank you. So if there's any, I would like to open this to a question, and if you have questions around the Japanese business culture or any comments. Any? Yeah?
Thank you, Reiko. You talk about practice ground and that you need it in Japan in order to come back to what seems to be natural for everyone, social interaction. We need to learn that again. You think in the Western world we have lost that as well, or do you think there's sufficient practice ground still in the Western business culture?
Well, I would say in the meeting rooms, it looks more proactive still in the Western business world, but it's very interesting because the Japanese are not proactive. We are proactive behind the scene. We do have a lot of consulting with each other, so we are having those important process of communication. However, even with the Western community, I see bit by bit getting less of that practice ground. Practice ground is more face-to-face. So this is my EQ experience. We read wrinkles and, the facial muscles. You know by looking at them, and you know when they're angry, when they are mad, or when they're sad. A good example is my daughter told me, can I do this next weekend? And I said, yeah. And then she said, okay, forget it. Because the way I looked said no. So people read people's wrinkles, and people listen to people's tones. So when an elementary school student are playing in the playground, they're not looking at each other. They're not connecting. They're looking at their phone and talking. Hi, I'm on this. Oh, yeah. So they're not actually they are in person, but they are not in face to face. Also, I see, in Japan we have a lot of calligraphies, but we feel the handwriting here, and that's gone too. So a lot of these natural tone, wrinkle, muscle, the pressure, these give us a lot of messages, and we're losing a lot of those. So in that area, I would say we're losing a lot of ground practice. A lot. Yeah. Thank you.
Hi, thank you for the great presentation.
Thank you.
So I have a practical question. When meeting a new potential Japanese partner,
Yes.
what's the best non-obvious thing you can do, and what's the most horrible mistake you can do?
Oh, well, I've done a lot of horrible ones. So, I am Japanese, and I'm sorry to say I'm not the best practice of this, but I think the basic of the Japanese communication is not to offend people, not to give them surprises, to be naturally merging together. So if that nemawashi is one of it. Also, get to know them before the meeting. That is a big one, also because it's not because they're shy, that's just how it is. We don't come into the office and in the meeting and introduce ourselves and we become friends. We have to have step-by-step relationship before the meeting, so it's really good if you can get along with them beforehand. We used to have nominication, which is drink communication. Nomu is drinking, and communication is communication. So we call it no communication. However, that's gone a little bit. Younger generation doesn't want to do that. But if you can suggest a fun, crazy party, maybe they would like to come. But just, get to know each other beforehand, and that will make it easier for Japanese they can trust you. We need a little trust before we go into something. Yeah?
You don't know what you just wished for, Reiko. You see, Reiko, I'm here. You seem to be very popular. So we've got Joanna here who's got a question. Then we've got Adi, and then we've got Steve on the other side.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much for such an interesting presentation.
Thank you.
Invaluable tools here. And my question actually fits a little bit with the theme, and it's a bit of a follow-up on Jesse's. So Western civilization, in a diverse organization, we try to get people in a room for 5 hours to do icebreakers, and then we forget about it for 3 months, and then the next quarter comes and we do the same thing. How can we create the practice grounds in an organic way? And I'm saying this understanding that maybe I'm grumpy and I don't like the icebreakers, but I'm sure there's a more organic way of doing this so we can build genuine relationships and create the environment, not the task list of training.
So this is for all Japanese and Westerners, everyone. So what I'm finding out is I can do trainings forever. Like I can do follow-up trainings and follow-up trainings, but the power of the practice ground, the practical way of doing that, I can't win it. It's always the in-person thing. I don't have the exact answer for that, but I know for sure that it takes time. And the problem is, every organization I go as an HR consultant, they say, oh, we don't have time. We have 2 hours, like 2 hours. However, and then it's just a 2 hours brain. So I can say anything and they're like, oh, I know the importance of it. But it's actually after that, the implementation. And what I can say is it takes a huge amount of time. This is for real. That table tennis is really working. Really working. It's funny. Well, it might go to a different direction if we don't direct it right. But so far it's working. But what I find out is it's as simple as that, but it takes time and it takes so much effort. Can I share one story that my friend professor, he loves bugs. He's 94 and he still goes out to take bugs. And what interesting story he shared with me is that, the other day, we're making flowers. Human making flowers. Because we killed the bees, nobody's raising flowers anymore. And we're doing their job. What are the older, our ancestors gonna think? You took away what bugs were doing, and you're spending a lot of money to make a bee. So that's what we're doing. And when I think of it, and we can't even create bees. We can, but it's not a real bee, it's a fake bee, and we can never get to that. So that actually made me think, if we once lose it, it's really hard to get the real thing back. So I know I'm not answering to your question. I will come up with ideas if I can, but for sure, it takes time. So if we're going to lose it, first, don't lose it. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. So I have a question about, from an HR standpoint, you were talking about fast decision-making and slow decision-making. Mm-hmm. And when someone is a fast decision-maker, typically they don't take into account the human factor. Mm-hmm. But I see a little conflict, which I'm curious about, is that when you cannot make a mistake, then the person that cannot make a mistake that is a human factor. They can feel, you know, it can be very, very problematic. The person cannot make a mistake, and it can cause, if he makes a mistake, depression, or, you know, it can be very problematic for that specific person. So I think I'm trying to understand the balance here. If you're trying to look into the human factor, but on the other hand, you are putting a lot of pressure on someone that they cannot make a mistake, I'm trying to understand the balance.
Thank you for that. It's not only the Japanese, but being right logically is about 1 + 1 = 2. But sometimes when you're human emotionally thinking about something, sometimes 1 + 1 is not 2. So in Japan, the context behind it is like what is right and what is wrong sometimes. But in business, logic flow gives the right answer, but sometimes in culture, when people are happy, that's the correct answer. So the people who prioritize emotion in a way sometimes prioritize, okay, this might have been a second logical answer. It's not the best, it's a second, but it was good for everyone, so this is the best. You know, is that answering to your question? No. No. Okay. Let's try that again. So can you rephrase it again?
So basically, instead of when you're a slow decision maker and you need to take into account the human factor, you're considering everything that has to do with human factor, but at the same time, you cannot make a mistake. Then you're shifting the pressure to the person that's taking the decision. And you know, part of progress is making mistakes, and at least in my opinion, I'm trying to understand a little bit better the idea of slow decision making, where the factor is putting priority on feelings, you know, on the human factor, while at the same time it's creating stress on someone else in the same organization.
I don't know if I'm getting this right. So the quick decision maker doesn't mean, or the slow decision maker doesn't mean they're both getting the right answer. They just come to the decision, quick or slow. So the result may not be right, correct. So that's one thing. I don't think I'm getting the question right. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
But you mean the balance of logic and?
Yeah, you know, it's okay to skip it. It's just I was just curious to understand again the. You said that there's been changes that we're moving from in Japan, moving from slow decision making to a little bit of faster decision making. So I'm curious to know if it maybe it's a result of, you know, realization that you're creating stress on the person that's taking decision because they cannot make a mistake. I was trying to understand a little bit more from that point of view.
Oh.
Why is it changing too fast? You said it's changing to a little bit faster in Japan, yeah?
In Japan.
Yeah?
In Japan, we're trying to make faster decisions from a pressure of the Western decision-making process. I think we really have to be aligned with it. I think one of the reasons is the pressure from us trying to become, we have the global conference and we have so many opportunities with you, and we just have to be aligned with it. There's a lot of pressure on careful decision makers, skipping and, you know, consulting, and they're not sure, they want to make sure that we're doing the right thing. So there's a lot of conflicts happening in the Japanese organization for this. The system has changed, but the habits don't change. So that's a difficult part.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very much.
Sorry if yeah. Is there any other question? Yes, thank you.
I believe, I don't know, but I believe that Japanese society shows great respect to age. And I wondered how that translates into business, whether that causes any problems with succession planning, and if in any way that potentially, with a world that is changing very quickly with technology, whether that inhibits innovation.
That's a very interesting question, and I can say two things. One is that, yes, the age, the hierarchy of age, it does exist still. At the same time, we all know that we only have the wisdom, but the technology is for the younger people, so they know better. But still, again, there is a system still that successors are still take the older ones. That's one of the reasons why Japan is a little behind in the succession in having younger leaders in the leadership. But another thing, what's happening in Japan is that younger people quit so much, so quickly. So 3 months or a year even. So a lot of leaders now are very afraid of losing younger generation. And the hierarchy is becoming a little different. We're in the middle of change and we don't know what's happening, but the former answer would be probably the case still. We have that system. The older ones succeed the next older ones, so it's difficult for us to get the younger leaders. Am I answering to your question? Thank you.
I think we are down to the last question. Will come from me, if you don't mind.
Yes.
Nemawashi, I referred to our conversation last night, and I've practiced Nemawashi in my business decisions in the past as well. And Nemawashi, remember, that's when you have to unroot the plant and plant somewhere else without really noticing it. You said there could be bad intentions behind Nemawashi. Not informing your business about the fact that you practice Nemawashi, is that a bad intention?
So bad intention Nemawashi would be building consensus for what you want, not being objective, and you want to influence people by doing Nemawashi beforehand, before the formal meeting, so that they are going to be on your page rather than the real, the ideal. So in that, when it's used that way, Nemawashi is not in a good intention, we say. But if you use it right, Nemawashi is a very kind, generous way of reaching out to people to make decisions.
It sets my mind at ease. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I think it was fascinating today by the very international nature of our business. We are close to other cultures already. I do think that Japan has been a bit of a closed door for us for a long time, and you've cracked that door open now, and I think we've all learned a little bit from that. So thank you very much, Reiko.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And please keep this FIDI conference together next year and onwards. This is a great practice ground. Thank you very much.